on, man.
Imagine had he at the State of the Union stood up and said, when back in January I wrote an article for USA Today saying, we've got a pandemic, we got a real problem. Imagine if he had said something. How many more people would be alive?
Protecting Americans' health also means fighting infectious diseases. We are coordinating with the Chinese government and working closely together on the coronavirus outbreak in China. My administration will take all necessary steps to safeguard our citizens from this threat.
Imagine if he had said something, the State of the Union.
We are coordinating with the Chinese government and working closely together on the coronavirus outbreak in China.
This is no time for Donald Trump's record of hysterical xenophobia.
Lying comes very easy to Joe Biden. In his own mind, he imagines these things. What's left of his mind, he imagines these things. He says these things. Then he goes on stage and calls Donald Trump a liar. Oh, that guy lies all the time. You can't believe anything he says. Joe Biden is a very sick man, putting aside his obviously a mental incapacity. I'm talking about he's a very sick man morally and ethically.
His lack of empathy and compassion can be summed up in a phrase I suspect he's most proud of having made famous.
You're fired.
You're fired. How can there be pleasure?
Come on, man.
In saying you're fired? I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch.
You're fired. Get out of here.
Got fired.
He was investigating the Sun and the Sun's company, got rid of him. Now that's what you call quid pro quo.
He has no clue about what makes America great. Actually, he has no clue, period. You know, the rapidly rising
he has no clue, period.
The idea of a man who can belittle people, go on dividing us based on race, religion, ethnicity. They're going to put you all back in chains. Go on dividing us based on race, religion, ethnicity. We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Wealthy kids, black kids, Asian kids. No, I really mean it, but think how we think about it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap. Based on all the things that, in fact, make up America, is just incredibly divisive. You have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black. Some black woman was able to stack the grocery shelf. He has yet once to condemn white supremacy, the neo-Nazis. He hasn't condemned a darn thing.
I've condemned neo-Nazis.
He has given them oxygen.
I disavowed then. I disavowed today on ABC with George Stephanopoulos. I disavowed again.
David Duke is a bad person who I disavow.
We have to make sure we lay out to the American people the truth. Tell them the truth. Have you ever heard this president say one negative thing about white supremacists?
President Donald Trump signed a congressional joint resolution that condemns white supremacy, neo-Nazis, and other hate groups.
I denounce white supremacy, okay?
Have you ever heard this president say one negative thing about white supremacists? Have you ever heard it?
President Trump condemned white supremacy.
In one voice, our nation must condemn racism, bigotry, and white supremacy. I denounce white supremacy. Okay. What's your next question?
You wouldn't even condemn David Duke, for God's sake.
But I disavowed David Duke. Now, if you look on Facebook, right after that, I also disavowed David Duke. I disavowed David Duke. So I've disavowed David Duke all weekend long on Facebook, on Twitter, and obviously it's...
So are you prepared right now to make a clear and unequivocal statement renouncing the support of all white supremacists?
Of course I am. Of course I am.
Just like they don't want to report that I spoke out forcefully against hatred, bigotry, and violence, and strongly condemned the neo-Nazis, the white supremacists, and the KKK. Totally disavow the Ku Klux Klan. I totally disavow David Duke. Any group of hate, I don't like it. Any group of hate, I am, whether it's white supremacy, whether it's any other kind of supremacy, whether it's Antifa, whether it's any group of hate. I am very concerned about it.
The president today made his strongest denunciation yet of white supremacy.
I have to say, I've said it many times, and let me be clear again, I condemn the KKK. I condemn all white supremacists.
President Trump denounced white supremacy today.
I denounce white supremacy. And frankly, you want to know something? I denounce Antifa, and I denounce these people on the left that are burning down our cities that are run by Democrats.
David Duke said, and I quote, "That's why we voted for Donald Trump, because he said he was going to take our country back."
It's time to take back America, as was said.
But that's the way Trump works. But it's not going to work on me and not take this country back. And so, folks, when those folks came, remember when he came down his gilded escalator in Trump Tower, he announced on the way down one reason he was running because of all those Mexican rapists.
When he said after Charlottesville, there were, and I quote, very fine people on both sides.
He says there are very fine people on both sides.
You had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
People know the president's a liar. I mean, they know that.
When I marched in the civil rights movement,
Biden falsely claimed, in other words, he lied, to have marched in the civil rights movement. During his run for the 1988 Democratic nomination, Biden inflated his record of activism in the civil rights movement. Biden, in particular, repeatedly claimed to have marched when presenting himself to audiences as a candidate for generational change. He said, "When I marched in the civil rights movement, I didn't march with a 12-point plan." He was lying. And then he goes on stage at these debates and accuses Trump of being a liar. He's a liar. He lies all the time. He's a clown.
when I marched in the civil rights movement, I came out of the civil rights movement. I was one of those guys that sat in and marched and all that stuff.
Joe Biden's 1988 presidential campaign, the first time he ran for president, he lied to voters.
They know that.
About having marched in the civil rights movement. And the New York Times reports, quote, more than once, advisors had gently reminded Mr. Biden of the problem with this formulation. He had not actually marched during the civil rights movement, and more than once, Mr. Biden assured them that he understood, kept telling the story anyway.
You know, when I was a teenager in Delaware, for real, I got involved in the civil rights movement.
But I got my education, Reverend Doc, in the black church. Not a joke.
during the 60s, I was, in fact, very concerned about the civil rights movement. I was not an activist. I worked at an all-black swimming pool. I was involved, but I was not out marching. I was not down in Selma. I was not anywhere else.
It amazes me that anybody would listen to that man.
Donald Trump knows that I'll beat him. That's why he's spending millions of dollars on air lying about me.
The way he talks to people, the way he characterizes them.
Mr. Vice President, everyone wants to know, are you
Get out of my way, will you?
Clap for that.
Take away our gun.
You're full of shit.
All right, thank you.
No, shush. Shush.
And I want to tell you, if I'm elected and I'm coming for you and gun manufacturers, I'm going to take you on and I'm going to beat you. I'm not taking your gun away at all. You need 100 rounds.
So when you were in Beto, when you said you're going to take our guns,
I did not say that. You're going to take care of the gun problem with me. You're going to be the one that leads this effort. I'm counting on you.
So when you were in Beto, when you said you're going to take our guns,
I did not say that.
With regard to guns, assault weapons, with regard to dealing with climate change. And I just was warning Amy, if I win, I'm coming for it.
I did not say that.
Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47.
If I win, I'm coming for it.
I did not say that. Wait. Take your AR-14s.
Okay, this is not okay. Hold on. All right.
Hey, let's
Don't tell me to
There's
I want to go outside.
There's a lot of guys. A lot of guys wanted.
The way he talks to people.
There's a lot of guys. A lot of guys wanted.
I'm not worried.
Hold on.
Give me a break, man. Don't be such a
You're
worried
pushing
guy.
up on me.
The way he talks to people. the way he characterizes them. And you want to check my shape on, let's do push-ups together here, man. Let's run. Let's do whatever you want to do.
The press always asks me, don't I wish I were debating him? No, I wish we were in high school. I could take him behind the gym. The guy who's the head of the Intelligence Committee calls him pencil neck.
You little pencil neck. Nine inches. That's pencil neck. Pencil neck again. Little pencil.
Hey, look, you know what recently happened? The President of the United States said that no longer would we, in fact, provide masks for schools because it was not a national emergency. What is he talking about?
President Trump says the government will send up to 125 million reusable face masks to school to help them reopen on time.
What is he talking about?
President Trump unveiled 8 recommendations for schools, including frequent hand washing, social distancing, and wearing masks.
President Trump talks about things that just aren't accurate. Look at all the confidence people are losing in anything he has to say. Going from inject bleach. By the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm and that would take care of it. It's okay. This is the same guy that said inject bleach.
He said that Trump said that people should inject bleach in your arm and that's going to work. That's crazy.
Don't worry, maybe inject bleach. He said he was kidding when he said that. A lot of people thought it was serious.
How dumb would you have to be to interpret it as he was asking in public, should you inject bleach and isopropyl alcohol into your veins?
Donald Trump did not tell anyone to inject themselves with disinfectant, and he didn't even suggest it.
But there's no need to lie about what he said. And every time you do, it shows that you care less about the truth and more about power.
This is the same guy that said, you know, you want to keep hurricanes from getting to the United States, why don't we drop a nuclear weapon on them?
President Trump is denying a report he suggested using a nuclear bomb to prevent a hurricane, calling the story ridiculous.
Forget about all the lies. He marched in this movement and he got these grades and a scholarship. In his own mind, he imagines these things. What's left of his mind, he imagines these things. He says these things. Then he goes on stage and calls Donald Trump a liar. Oh, that guy lies all the time. You can't believe anything he says. Joe Biden is a very sick man, putting aside his obviously a mental incapacity. I'm talking about he's a very sick man morally and ethically. Lying comes very easy to Joe Biden. He can say two things and believe both of them.
I did my job well. I did it what the American policy was, the European policy, the IMF. Not a single person said I did anything other than what was honorable. Period. Period.
So Hunter Biden and his associates and Joe Biden's family cashed in millions and millions of dollars in deals while he was vice president, and actually even flying on Air Force Two. Is that a fact?
We certainly believe so. And of course, what we also know is Vice President Biden is now a serial liar.
I'm going to beat this man like a drum. I'm telling you, I can hardly wait to debate him. I want to debate him about corruption. Talk about corruption. This is the most corrupt president we've ever had in American history.
Joe Biden is the most corrupt vice president in history.
Joe Biden and his son are corrupt.
He's an idiot.